Hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Business and Culture Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chambers, Strabane, on Tuesday, the 9th of December 2025 at 4 p.m. Item 2 is members' attendance and apologies. So, Alderman Cook.
Online.
Alderman Guy.
Online, Chair.
Alderman Middleton.
Here, Chair, online.
Councillor Boyle.
Online, Chair.
Councillor Alex Duffy.
Unshaw, online.
Councillor Farrell, I'm here. Councillor Harkin. I see you're online, Sean. Councillor Hart in the chamber. Councillor Heaney.
Sure.
Councillor Hutton.
Online, Chair.
Councillor McDade.
Online.
Councillor Mooney.
Here.
Councillor O'Farrell. And Councillor O'Neillis.
Erlina.
Okay, thank you. So the broadcasting statement, I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the chamber or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes, and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website at www.derrystrabane.com. Item 4 is declarations of members' interests. So if you want to express them verbally or on the chat, when it comes to any particular item, that'd be great. And chairperson's business, I don't believe that anyone has contacted me about chairperson's business. I had an issue with my email yesterday, but it's now rectified, but I didn't see anything in there at all. I've just got 2 items that I wish to raise. One was about the Christmas light switch on. It was very wet. I took my daughter to it, but it was a really, really great show. The town looks amazing. The atmosphere was electric, and I took the opportunity to walk through Everington Square yesterday evening, and I saw that, is it the light trail, which is pretty amazing. They've got these pillars of light shining up from the Christmas tree at Everington Square, which is it's quite a spectacle. So I'd encourage everybody to go and get a look at that. The second item is next month we have representatives from InvestNI are going to present to the committee. We haven't had them at committee in quite a while. They're not going to be in the chamber. They're going to be attending remotely. So it's going to be an opportunity for us as councillors to scrutinise the work of InvestNI, specifically around sub-regional economic plan, around the location of the new InvestNI office in this city, and about investment and employment opportunities right across this city and district. And I know InvestNI did attend the Economy Committee last week in Stormont, where they were robustly challenged by my party colleague Sinead McLaughlin on delivery across this city and district. So next month, it's going to give us an opportunity to query exactly what's happening with the sub-regional economic plan, exactly what's happening in terms of investor visits and job announcements in Derry and Strabane. So I'm looking forward to that personally. So I have no other items for Chair's business. So if we just go on to the meeting
Rory.
itself. Yeah.
It's Councillor Harkin here. Yeah, look, I very much look forward to the opportunity to engage with Invest NI, and thanks for letting us know that that's happening. I think there's a lot there from what's happening in Derry in the Northwest, and obviously with issues to do with funding for organisations that might be complicit with genocide. But I had sent you a very late request, and if you can allow it, that would be great. But it's just I think to give members the opportunity to say something about the passing of Eamon Mullock. If that's going to be up to you, Rory.
Yeah, that's fine, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, people will have heard that Eamon Mullock has passed. He's 92, so he's had a long life, and I think that he is among a generation of people who were central to the civil rights movement here in Derry. He was an organiser with Eamon McCann and Dermot McCallan as well of the October 5th, Dermot McClenaghan of the October 5th, 1968 march. As people know, he was, I've heard Eamon McCann on the radio today talking about his role, Eamon Mullock's role with Radio Free Derry. And I think that Eamon is, one of them people who in Derry just said no, and that we needed to organise, that we needed to change. And he was a campaigner and all his life. And I think, a very important person in the civil rights movement, somebody as well who kind of like Eamon McCann cut a different cloth in terms of the need for mass movements and people power, and maybe going against the grain often in terms of the main political traditions on the island. And I think that his passing is sad. I would like to send my solidarity and People Before Profit solidarity to Eamon's family and friends. He's somebody obviously that made a big contribution to the civil rights movement and the demand for change here. And I think it's very important that we acknowledge that contribution and pay tribute to him and, bid him farewell as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sean. And I, on behalf of the SDLP, would just like to echo your remarks. Eamon was very well respected right across the city. He was heavily involved in the civil rights campaign. He was one of the main organisers. He was a stalwart. And, I used to see Eamon walking around the town, and he was so sprightly. I couldn't believe he was 92 years of age. So it will be missed by a lot of people right across this city and district. And I would echo your remarks, Sean. I would wonder if we could get possibly a letter from the mayor or from council to the family. I think that would be an appropriate thing to do. Anyone else on that item? Councillor Hutton?
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, just as well, on behalf of our team, it's to send solidarity to Eamon's family and friends. He lived a great life, but I'm sure they will miss him dearly, as will other members of our community that relied on him for advice and guidance. Eamon, as we know, helped found the Derry Housing Action Committee and the Derry Unemployment Action Committee, which campaigned throughout the years for a lot of people within our community. So he was a man of great knowledge. He was a man of sound advice. He will be missed dearly, and we bid him farewell. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Aisling. So next item on the agenda is item 6, which is matters arising from the previous meeting. So does anyone wish to raise anything? Okay, that seems to be a no. So item 7 is the National Events Fund application. We have Aideen to take us through that item. Aideen?
Yes, so thank you, Chair. Members, this is to update you on an application received for the National Events Subvention Fund. Members, you'll know that this is a provision that we have for one-off national events to come to the region if subvention were available. The criteria are based on the total visitor numbers greater than 5,000 and an overall budget of 100,000 or more. So far this year, we've only had one application for the next financial year. As you know, any event of this nature and scale and to be considered for this fund, they should speak to us at least a year in advance. We are aware of another possible application and that would fit the time frame, but they are not in position to submit an application at this stage. So if that proceeds, we will bring it to you and discuss it further, particularly with the lead finance officer. But it would be remiss not to allow this application that has come into us to proceed. It has been received and it has been assessed by a panel on the basis of the outlined criteria, and the result is set out in the Appendix 1 of this report. It's for an international sporting event of significance planned for September 2026 in the city, and it scored highly in terms of strategic fit, and it would also help bring increased media profile and value to the region. There is currently a limited budget of 35,000, and it's recommended that Event A, based on score, receive 25,000 from this allocation. The award obviously will be made subject to the applicants meeting all other general conditions with any letter of offer that we would issue. And we would expect to bring, if there is a further application received, we'll bring a further report on a subsequent application to this fund, but that will require looking at additional one-off budget. So it is referenced in the rates ask for this year, and we are in discussions with the lead finance officer should that other application materialise. But members, you're asked to approve to allocate 25,000 to Event A for the National Events Subvention Fund from the Festival and Events budget for this application. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. So the first indicated speaker is Councillor Mooney. Sean?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Aileen for the paper anyway. And obviously, I'm quite happy to propose the paper in principle as it is. I know in 3.2 it says that there's an international sport event planned for September 26, but obviously there's a bit of work to go on that yet, and appreciate the fact is that it let the organisers announce that themselves rather than this forum anyway. But today we're here to agree in principle, and I'm quite happy to do that on behalf of the SDLP. But thank you, Chair. Thank you, Aileen.
Thank you, Sean. I've got a question to Councillor Harkin. Your hand is up. Is that for this item or was it for your chair's business, Sean?
I'll get that hand down, Rory.
Thank you very much, Sean. Greatly appreciated. So next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton. Julie?
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in, and thank you, Aileen, for the report and update. At this stage, with the information we have, everything looks okay, but we look forward to hearing some further details regarding the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Next indicated speaker is Councillor O'Neillis. Grace?
Carmel Rory, and just to thank Aileen for bringing this report in. I was at the meeting where the event was discussed, and I'm really happy to support it on behalf of Sinn Féin and look forward to see it coming forward and to see the impact that it has economically in terms of bed nights and visitors. Carmel.
And final speaker is Alderman Hussey. Derek?
Thanks for the opportunity, Chair. Not a member of committee, as you know. Definitely welcome this level of sporting event coming to, it was said there, the city. Is it city and district or is it specific to the city would be my first query on that. And is there any clarification of the field of sport that's involved, or is that all under wraps at the moment? And secondly, with regard to the possible second event, is there any indication of the field of activity? Is it cultural or etc., that might be coming through on? Thank you, Chair.
It is city focused. Happy to give you the details. Obviously, are anonymised at this stage for all the reasons that we usually apply to this. But I'm happy to share the specific details with Alderman Hussey or any other member that wishes after the meeting in confidence. We did obviously discuss the culture members working group, so a number of members, the cross-representation of members are aware of the detail of the application. The other event is cultural, it's not sporting. I think that.
Through you, Chair, thanks very much for that clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Derek. So that's unanimous. So I assume that was proposed by Councillor Mooney and seconded by Alderman Middleton, for Teresa's benefit online. So next item is item 8, which is the public art update. And we've got Aideen to take us through that.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. Members, this public art update relates to 2 pieces that I will take their interspersed in the report, but I will just deal with them separately. The first is the Stitch in Time artwork, which you'll be aware is installed on the roof of the Rosemount factory. And it has been the subject of several previous reports to this committee. There were in 2021, there were significant operational issues with the piece. There were repairs carried out at that stage, and a number of lighting components, items were replaced at that stage. The piece was originally commissioned as by Artichoke for Lumiere, which was part of the City of Culture programme in 2013. The artist at the time and the fabricator expected the piece to have a lifespan of up to 10 years. But I suppose there was a strong desire to maintain the artwork. In recent months, you may be aware the artwork has experienced several lighting failures. Interim repairs have been carried out and functionality has been restored, but the investigation inspection at that stage have highlighted ongoing deterioration of the piece, and consequently Property Services engaged a specialist contractor to undertake an initial assessment and advise on its long-term viability. So the specialist contractor has confirmed that a significant overhaul is required that would involve the replacement of all of the cabling, bulbs and associated electrical components. And the contractor further advised that the input of a specialist lighting engineer would be necessary to determine the detailed spec of the works. The contractor is confident that the proposed works would restore the artwork to operational condition. They did caution that any future faults may not be repairable. But a recent visit by Property Services to assess the frame indicated that the frame was in good overall condition with no obvious signs of corrosion or structural deterioration. A few joints will require attention, but a full replacement is not required at this stage, and the lettering itself is in good condition. So a cost-effective approach may be to temporarily remove the lettering, upgrade the lighting system, and then refit the lettering. So in addition to the ongoing maintenance and repair requirements, the artwork is subject to a periodic inspection and testing regime, and Council do continue to meet an annual leasing agreement on the piece. But the current public artwork budget is £20,000. The recurring maintenance and inspection cost for Stitch in Time alone is approximately £4,500, and Council continue to pay the annual leasing agreement for £2,000 plus VAT per annum. What you're asked at this stage, members, is to approve the appointment of a specialist lighting engineer to at a cost of £5,000 to finalise the spec required for the proposed full revamp of the artwork, which is initially estimated at approximately £30,000. And you'll see in the recommendations there that members were asking you to note the estimated costs and note that this exceeds the current public artwork budget, and that this recommissioning work will require the allocation of a further budget. And again, discussions are ongoing with the lead finance officer in relation to this, and this amount has been highlighted with the lead finance officer as part of the rates process that members should be about to embark on with our colleagues in finance. But with your approval, members, we would propose to approve the appointment of a specialist lighting engineer, and that we would conduct an exercise to determine the exact cost of the works with approval up to £30,000, subject to the allocation of budget. As regards, so I suppose that relates to Stitch in Time. Members, the other item that is included in this report is the points of departure, which are located along the quay in the city. It was commissioned shortly after the Atlantic Drift piece, and using the same recycled timber blocks or timber pieces. It was done by the artist Lockie Morris, and they're located along the riverfront, and they served as a public art trail, guiding visitors along the quay to reflect the city's past as a major departure point for thousands of emigrants. But The points of departure have deteriorated significantly over recent years, and anybody who's seen them will know that that's the case. The exposed ironmongery and fixing represent ongoing health and safety concerns, and the artworks are really now visually unattractive. It's recommended that we now secure a price for the removal and disposal of the points or decommissioning of the points of departure artwork, including making good the respective sites. We have had initial discussions with the artist who's satisfied that the pieces have reached the end of their life and he is content that they're decommissioned. So members, you're also asked in this report to note that decommissioning and to approve the allocation of the budget required, which is not expected to be significant, in removing those pieces and making good the respective sites. So happy to take any questions, members, on that report.
Thank you, Aideen. So at this stage, we have only one indicated speaker, and that's Councillor Heaney. Connor?
Thanks, Chair. And thanks to Aideen for the report. And I'm happy to propose that we accept the recommendation. The Stitch in Time feature has become an icon that's visible from many parts of the city and is much admired. And I'm delighted and glad that it's still in relatively good condition, and hope that the lighting engineer will confirm that its longer term survival can be addressed. It's a pity that the point of departure feature hasn't endured so well, but I also agree with this element of the recommendation that it just will have to be dealt with in that way. So I'm happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Connor. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Hussey. Derek.
Thanks again for the opportunity, Chair. It's just a clarification. I mean, this Stitch in Time artwork was commissioned 2014, but it was said at the time that it had a 10-year lifespan. That's now expired. It's beyond a sell-by date, shall we say. So I don't see the point in having it back again. Now, personally, I've never seen it. Then somebody might argue it'd be very hard to see from Castledurg, but I have never seen this particular item. There again, it does state in the report that it has been not operational for a while, and that may be a reason when I'm down in the city that I haven't seen it. But you know, I'm just concerned that something that was known to be of a 10-year lifespan would be now continue cost from when there are other artworks, etc., that have been installed to represent that particular side of the city's past. Thank you, Chair.
Is there a question there? Because
I think it is more of a comment, Chair. Thank you.
In the report, it does state that the expected lifespan of the piece was 10 years, but upon investigation, elements of the installation are fine and no renewals are required. I think it's just the electrical work needs upgraded. But I would invite you to visit Rosemount at night just to see the sign and its splendour. And it is one of the last remaining legacies of the City of Culture. It signifies the importance of our shirt making heritage. I think it should be retained. I don't think because it had an intended lifespan of 10 years that we throw it out when it reaches its 10th birthday. But that's just my view. So next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton. Julie.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and thank you, Aideen, for the report. I have to say, I agree that our shirt making heritage is very, very important, not just to the city, but the district as a whole. I have seen the Stitch in Time lighting. I personally think it's lovely. I am a lover of art in all forms, but I would say that myself and my colleague Alderman Cook are reluctant at this stage to support. We would like to see finer details on the costings. There seems to be sort of a vast difference in how much it could cost, or a bit of excuse me, I'm starting away, just a bit of confusion. So as I say, we're just a wee bit reluctant at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Just 2 seconds. So, yeah, but Julie, we'll come back to you in terms of that, but I'm going to give the two Seans an opportunity to speak first, and then Aidan can summarise. So, Councillor Mooney, Sean.
Thank you, Chair. And in relation to the paper, the SLP's quite happy to, or content to support it, especially in relation to the stitch in time. Obviously, I understand that from reading the paper that what is required and the elements in it. Just one particular point, I was on the aspect of the points of departure. I know obviously at 3.6 and 3.7, it basically that the paper is saying that the artwork is irretrievably gone now in a way. But if we are going to take it away, my concern would be, is there any way that are we thinking about marking it in any other way, or is council in discussions with any other body to see if that can be marked? I mean, in a way, it's important because it's a sort of, a feature of the city about emigration, and obviously people were boarding these what were known as coffin ships and going to, leaving Ireland for a reason. And I just wouldn't like to see them just being taken away. I understand that they've deteriorated to a point where they can't be replaced, but is there any way we can look at it or liaise with anybody else to see if they can be marked in any way? Thank you, Chair.
And I'm going to bring Councillor Harkin in as the final speaker. Sean.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Aidan, for the paper. And I and People Before Profit are happy to second the recommendations. I want to thank council officers as well for responding to the requests of residents that deal with this, because it was residents that first noticed that the lights were out, and now we've got a fuller picture of what's actually happened, and I think that that'll be welcomed. Obviously, there is a cost here to upgrading and fixing the lights on top of the Rosemount factory, but I think it's worth it because of the iconic status of the building. The future of the Rosemount factory is somewhat up in the air in terms of ownership and what's going to be in there. So I think that, maintaining this right now is going to be very, very important to that. And look, the Alderman Hussey, I would be happy to bring you up to Rosemount and you can have a look at the Rosemount factory and you can have a look at the lights. Obviously, it'll be far better once the lights are back on, but you can actually see the lights as well from many vantage points when they're on around the city. You don't have to be in Rosemount. You can actually see them from the city centre, I would imagine, and you can see them from Ebrington as well, and maybe from other vantage points. And, the history of Rosemount is very, very fascinating. I grew up there and I know other colleagues did as well. But the history of Rosemount, if you know a bit about it in terms of who lived there, very, very interesting, and who worked in the shirt factory. It's very much part of it's central to the shirt factory heritage. And I think it's also paying tribute to the shirt factory workers. So always reluctant to have to spend rates money on, things that some people might consider not that important. Art is important, and sometimes it's the first thing that gets cut. And I think that even people who don't think it's great art think it should remain, because I know my colleague Eamon McCann didn't necessarily think it was great art, but thinks it's something that should stay there now because of what it represents. I do think that we should write to the owners, seeing if we can reduce the lease. I wasn't aware that we were paying $2,000 plus a year to lease the space. Now, the space is on top of the building. I'm not sure it is taken away from something else. I don't think anybody else has got a request in. So I think we should, to try and make a saving, see if we can get the lease reduced, or if we can get the owners to basically agree that we shouldn't really have to pay for a lease for that space. It's not something that is, it's not advertising the business. I mean, this is about the community, it's about the city, and it's about, trying to have art as well be celebrated. So I would like to propose that we also engage with, and that could start with a letter to the owners for a discussion about the cost of the lease. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sean. I thought you were the last speaker, but then Alderman Guy and Councillor Hart are going to intervene as well. So, Darren.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. Just the comment on what Councillor Harkin said there, I totally agree with him. I am happy enough to support any work that needs done to the actual stitch and time artwork. That is, as long as it's manageable. You know, when it gets to a point where it's going to cost us a lot more to actually replace it, that might be another matter. But I do agree with the comments that he's made about the owner of the building there and the £2,000 rent that we pay on it yearly. Should be, I think that's a bit harsh actually. But my point was about the actual the plaques along the quay. Will they be put up elsewhere along the quay or on some sort of furniture that basically will still allow them to be commemorated? It is important, I think, that they stay there. It was brought to my attention months ago about the deterioration and the fact that there was a worry that those plaques were going to be damaged or lost and somebody would maybe throw them into the river. So council then informed us that they were removing them. And now that the report has come back that they're basically beyond repair, the old wharf posts, that possibly they could look at putting them somewhere else, because I think it's important that we remember the boats had left and everything else that is mentioned along there as well. But we can even, just to let my colleague know there, even if he comes to my house, you can see them from the God's country in Kilfennan, like, so you can see the stitch in time when it's working. Thanks, Chair, anyway, for letting us in.
Thank you, Darren. And the final indicated speaker is Councillor Hart. Brian.
Thanks. I don't know, the lights are on, nobody's home, but I think this is Derry's equivalent to the Hollywood sign, and I've seen it many a time driving into Derry, and it's lit up for all to see. So I think it's like iconic piece of art. So thanks.
I concur, Councillor Hart. So there's a couple of queries there, Aideen. So with Julie asking about costs, Derek asking about longevity of the piece, with Councillor Harkin asking about the lease, can it be renegotiated? We had Councillor Mooney asking about the departure points, and Councillor Alderman Guy asking about the plaques, what we're doing about the plaques. So there you go.
So happy to clarify some of those. Apologies if the costs weren't clear. So what we're asking at the moment is that you approve that we spend £5,000 on the specialist engineer from the current public art budget. There's an estimated cost at the moment of £30,000 for the repairs. So what we're proposing to do is that we will go to the market to get exact costs, and I suppose we're asking for approval for up to £30,000. If the costs come back and they're higher than the approved costs, we will bring that back to you members for approval. I suppose we're asking for indicative approval up to £30,000, subject to that being found and us making the budget available. As regards the piece, we are have been in ongoing discussions with Department for Communities about replacing them. Some of the plaques that Alderman Guy referred to have been removed already and are in secure storage, and we would propose to keep the plaques in secure storage with a view to them being utilised at a point in the future, if we can do a future piece of work. And as I say, we are in ongoing discussions with the Department for Communities. There have been efforts over the years to negotiate with the building owners, but we're happy to write to them again, as Councillor Harkin suggests. I think is that all of the queries? And obviously you're going to organise a tour of various sites for Alderman Hussey, but I'll leave that for you members to work that out among yourselves.
So we're taking Alderman Hussey up a tree in Rosemount. But Julie, have you a final comment?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Aideen, thank you for that. That was the clarity that I didn't actually word into a question. So that changes things. So it doesn't feel ambiguous now. Thank you. No, that's great. So we in that vein are happy to support on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So unanimously supported, proposed by Councillor Heaney, and I think it was Councillor Harkin that seconded. So item 9 is the Labour Market Partnership update, and we've got Kevin to take us through that paper.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is, well, there's some good news in this report in terms of additional funding, but the purpose of this report is for you to note the continuation of a couple of programmes procured over the 24 to 26 period to update members on the appointment of People First to deliver a Teaching Assistant Employment Academy, and also then to update members on the additional funding received from DFC in terms of the LMP itself. So members at this stage are well versed in terms of the role of the LMP, its history, the action plan that it's delivering, but just to remind members that we are in the process of delivery on a 2-year action plan that's 24-25 and 25-26. You'll see within the report we've included some statistics in the 24-25 just to jog members' memories just in terms of the performance of the LMP itself. You'll also see that we are proposing to put an uplift in terms of the Taxi Academy and an uplift in terms of the Kickstart Your Skills programme that's being delivered by Northwest Tax Proprietors, and then the Skills one through Derry Youth and Community Workshop. On the third front, we're also, through our procurement framework, calling off People First to deliver a further Teaching Assistant Academy for 30 participants up to 58,800. So you'll see within the report itself, and we've highlighted some of the performance of the programmes from the 24-25 action plan. Members may remember that the 24-25 action plan actually finished on the funding position of it was extended to the 30th of June, not the traditional 31st of March. So some of these figures wouldn't have been reported back at the year end. So you'll see the various programs, the academies and that type of stuff that's included. In terms of the 25-26 program, so procurement obviously began in that then in late summer. Some of the procurement's still ongoing. You'll see the types of programs that are being delivered and the participant numbers that are being targeted within that program. Just in terms of just noting some dates for diaries, so the LMP will be supporting Apprenticeship Week, which is the week commencing the 2nd of February, and part of that support on the 4th of February, the annual apprenticeship fair will take place in the Guildhall, and then the 6th of February, the joint job and apprenticeship fair will take place in the Melvin in Strabane. You'll also see that we have received correspondence on the 11th of November from DFC in relation to an additional allocation in the funding for LMP. What I would say around that is that generally, whenever we bid for each action plan, it does have 100% funding throughout the period of LMPs have been in existence. We've never actually received 100%. So this year's the first year we're getting the full 100%, and that's where that 155,000 is coming from. As always, in terms of this type of funding, has to be delivered by the 31st of March. So I would note there are often challenges in terms of being able to procure, first of all, design, procure and deliver these types of programs. But the team, well experienced and have plans in place, including the 2 uplifts in the programs we're talking about, the 10%, and then there'll be some new procurements which we'll bring back to members as they develop. So you can see the financials within item 5, and the recommendation is that you're asked to approve the appointment of People First to deliver the Teaching Academy, and to approve and accept DFE's amended letter of offer of the 11th of November.
Thank you, Kevin. So we have one indicated speaker at present, and that's Councillor Hart. Brian.
Thanks, Kevin, for that report, and looking through the different matrix. It seems to be quite successful, and in particular, the teacher training, assistance, which seems to be the most positive of outcomes there. Going forward, maybe I would ask council officers to engage where possible. Maybe you do this anyway, community and voluntary stakeholders to ascertain potential training needs within the district, just in relation to any possible gaps. And indeed, they may have ideas on specific areas of opportunities, and in particular too around the city, Dean. I know there was the construction and plant hire, or construction and plant operators training, which would be very beneficial going forward in relation to that. But overall, I think it's very, very positive. So good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So we have no further indicated speakers. I assume Councillor Hart has proposed the item. So, Councillor Mooney.
I'll tell you second that. Thank you to Kevin for the report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so it looks like that's open business completed in record time. We're going to move into confidential now.